Welcome to Nada Yada Island.
We're back on the Nada Yada Island Confessions Show. Benny is about to tell us how he found two loves. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks to Metro, I found iPhone 12 and Apple Watch SE.
At Metro, get the perfect match of both iPhone 12 with 5G and Apple Watch SE for only $99.99. You heard that right. Both for just $99.99. Holidays with Nada Yada Yada. Only at Metro by T-Mobile.
Bring your number and ID, sign up for Metro Flex Plus, and add a watch line. Not available if you're with T-Mobile or been with Metro in the past 180 days. Limit 2 per account.
What if you could hear your favorite song for the first time again? Introducing the all-new, reimagined Nissan Kicks. With an available Bose Personal Plus sound system that uses speakers in the headrest to create a 360-degree listening experience. You've never heard anything like this. Reimagine your music and your drive. Experience the all-new, reimagined Nissan Kicks for yourself at nissanusa.com today.
Available feature. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation.
This is Optimal Living Daily. Perseverance, aka No, It's Not Okay to Quit, by Chris Guillebeau of chrisguillebeau.com. And I'm Justin Malik. I read to you every day covering happiness, self-care, and more. And now let's get right to our next post as we optimize your life. Perseverance, aka No, It's Not Okay to Quit, by Chris Guillebeau of chrisguillebeau.com. Late Saturday afternoon, I set out to run 20 miles. I'd love to say it was a beautiful run filled with energy and good thoughts, but in reality, it was terrible. After mile 1, I was in pain. After mile 3, it was worse. This was an important training run for the Chicago Marathon I've signed up for in October, and I almost quit. I thought about turning around or walking home, or even calling a cab and paying for it with the cash I had put in the bottom of my shoe. Instead, I kept going and made it to a golf course where I was evicted on the 15th hole by a security guard in a cart. "This is private property," he told me. Normally, I would have pointed out the open to the public sign or otherwise protested, but I had no heart for it and agreed to leave. I needed mileage however I could get it, so I ran back around the course and out to the street. A few miles later, I made it to the airport. "Greetings, PDX. The airport is like a second home to me, but I'm usually arriving by taxi or train, not on foot. I watched the Horizon flights take off toward Boise and Seattle, and I tried to cheer myself with the realization I had made it that far. By now, I was at mile 8 or 9, according to Runkeeper, the iPhone app I've been using to track my training. Then I made it to the Columbia River, where I climbed to the top of the ridge and kept going. Thanks to the golf course detour, I hadn't completely run in one direction, so I turned ahead at mile 11 instead of mile 10, only 9 more miles to go. By this point, I was fully committed. No matter what, I'd have to get back home. I abandoned all thoughts of taxis and kept moving forward step by step. I ran back to where I had started more than 90 minutes earlier, and it hurt. All the way, not every step, but definitely every mile. I started walking a bit every few minutes. My pace was now more than 10 minutes per mile, slower than I'd prefer under ordinary circumstances. But this time, I didn't care. All that mattered was just keep going. I finally made it back to my neighborhood and looped around Laurelhurst Park a couple of times, each turn more excruciating than the last. The final 0.3 of a mile felt like 5 kilometers. I timed my stop for exactly 20 miles, not wanting to go even a tiny bit further. It was finally over, so I hobbled into Laughing Planet and ordered a lot of food, speaking incoherently to the cashier. A mango smoothie appeared in front of me, which I sipped while waiting to take home the rest of the order. 10 minutes later, I stumbled back to my house and lay down on the floor, shivering from the cold, even though it was still warm outside. I was dehydrated and felt strangely disoriented. Despite burning approximately 2,600 calories, according to Runkeeper, I had no appetite. Finally, I got up and finished the smoothie, turning on the water for a hot shower. I looked down at the bathroom floor and saw shards of glass everywhere. That's odd, I thought. Then I remembered I had a glass of water in my hand a few minutes before. I must have dropped it, causing it to shatter on the floor, but I had no memory of doing so. Oops. Dehydration exhaustion must have been kicking in. I swept up the shards and hopped in the shower, letting the hot water soak into my skin as I slowly began to recover. And then I smiled. "Yeah," I said out loud to no one, "I ran 20 miles. Part of overcoming is to understand when to quit and when to keep going. When you're first learning to run, you want to be careful not to overdo it. Your muscles need to be trained, and you should be careful to avoid adding on mileage too quickly. Any sign of real pain is a good sign to regroup and go slow. But after a while, when you really start training for a long race, sometimes it hurts. At least for most of us, it's not natural to run for 3.5 hours straight. There are times when you should back off to prevent injury, and there are times you should ignore the pain and keep going. When you take on a big challenge and encounter obstacles, you tend to encounter a voice in your head that offers you an easy escape. Sometimes this voice also comes forth in an opinion offered by well-meaning people in your life. Either way, the voice says, "You don't have to do this. It's okay to quit." But you know better, right? Yes, you do have to do this. You may need people in your life who say you should take it easy and not always try so hard. But if you know in your heart that you'll be dissatisfied with defeat, you owe it to yourself to keep going. I hated the first 10 miles this weekend, and I continued to struggle through the second 10 miles. But later, as I expected, I was glad I did it. On Sunday, I stumbled around the house, accomplishing little except trying to remember to stretch. As it stands now, I'm not really prepared to run Chicago in October, but I'll go for it anyway. If it works, it will be because of this run. If for some reason it doesn't, I've done everything I could do. Whatever. I'm glad and have no regrets. It doesn't matter if you quit. Yes, of course it matters. You are a winner, right? If so, do what you have to do. Avoid the golf course security guard, walk as much as you need, lie on the bathroom floor if you have to. But don't quit. Persevere. Run the race. You'll be happier that you did. You just listened to the post titled Perseverance, aka No, It's Not Okay to Quit, by Chris Guillebeau of chrisguillebeau.com, and I'll be right back with my commentary. The holidays can really strain your wallet. We've all been there, me included. It could take months to rebuild those savings, but holiday spending doesn't have to derail your financial progress. With Chime, you can actually stay ahead of your expenses. I discovered their Spot Me feature when I nearly overdrafted buying last-minute gifts. Instead of getting hit with a $35 fee like my old bank would charge, Chime spotted me up to $200 with zero fees. Plus, with no monthly fees and early direct deposit access, you're set up to maintain healthy finances year-round. Enjoy the holidays while keeping your financial goals on track with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/old. That's chime.com/OLD. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission of payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs and for OTC withdrawals.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
Not okay to quit, unless you're on the verge of heat exhaustion, of course. This took me back to 3rd or maybe it was 4th grade when I did my first jogathon at school. I had never run more than a mile at that point, but I was pretty decent at doing a mile. My friends were even better, and I felt like I needed to keep up during the jogathon. So in those couple hours at school for the jogathon, I ran 7.5 miles. That I regretted. I remember the teacher asking me if I was okay when we went to class after. I was done. I ended up running a temperature that night, never had legs so sore. So yeah, that's the flip side of the coin. I think we're old enough now to know when we really actually have to quit. And you can hear more about running and health on my brother's podcast, Optimal Health Daily. If you want to hear more blogs narrated for you in general, you can search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this and check out all 5 of our shows where we narrate blogs. It'd be great if you subscribe to some of our others too. We cover lots of different topics. But that'll do it for today. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll be back tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.